fellow bookworms, the Timber is Dead. My name is Whitney, and today we are going to be talking about If Wishes Were Horses by Robert Barclay. This was actually my weekly read for last week, but I was sick. I read it, but I was sick and wasn't able to film. So there's actually going to be two videos today. This one covering this book, and then later on today, the video covering the book we read this past week. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Before we start discussing this, though, just a reminder, we do Book of the Month discussion questions every Monday. Of course, do our weekly reads every Wednesday. We have a Throwback Thursday where I cover different books from my childhood. And then there's also a series Saturday where videos will be popping up here and there as we work our way through the Dresden Files series. There's other bonus videos that pop up. I just did a book haul. I'm currently making my way through both my ABC Author Challenge books and my 25 Days of Bookmas books. And so those videos will be popping up here and there as well. If you haven't already, please give this video a like, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on a thing. The other thing I wanted to talk about before we get into the book is this year I decided to do the CAWPILE rating system. I can't remember, there was a booktuber who came up with it originally. I can't remember the name of that channel, but I will leave it linked down in the description below. But I learned about it through Emily Jean Blatt's channel. I'll also leave her channel link down below in case you want to check her out. But basically, you have seven different uh, aspects that you rate the book on. So you have character, you have atmosphere, writing style, plot, intrigue, logic, and enjoyment. And you rate each of those sections on a scale of 1 to 10. You add that up and average it, and that will give you your rating, and then that can transfer to a 5-star rating if you would like to do that. And so far, absolutely loving the style of rating the books. I never really enjoyed like 5-star ratings system. I would on occasion do that, but it didn't really capture enough of the book. And so I really like doing it this way so far. It's super easy. Like I say, you just rate each of those different sections on a scale from 1 to 10. 0 to 3, I have my little notes here. 0 to 3 being very poor, 4 to 6 being mediocre, 7 to 9 being really good, and then 10 outstanding. And then, like I said, you add those all up, average it, and then you can transfer it to a star rating system. 1.1 to 2.2 being a 1-star, 2.3 to 4.5 being 2-star, 4.6 to 6.9 being a 3-star, 7 through 8.9 being 4-star, and then a 9 to 10 being a 5-star read. So far, absolutely love it, and that's the rating system I'm going to use going forward for most of the books. I'm not going to do it like on the Dresden Files. I might do it on the series as a whole, but I think that can get kind of redundant, especially because those books are very, very similar. And I think a lot of series books would be very similar. And so I may or may not do it on individual series books, but I might. It just kind of depends on how I feel going forward. And some children's books I'm not going to do it on either. So it just kind of depends on the book. But for the most part, I'm going to use it for like my weekly reads and my book of the months and everything like that. So really look forward to doing that going forward. So let's go ahead and talk about If Wishes Were Horses. So in this one, we have Wyatt Blaine, whose wife and son were killed by a drunk driver on his birthday. And he decides to revive his late wife's horse program for troubled teens. And the wife and son of the driver that killed his wife and son um, end up coming to him. And the son of hers is very troubled, and so she wants to enroll him in the program. But of course, there's some issues because of their ties and the tragic incident that happened. So um, it is kind of a romance book as well, which is in the synopsis. Wyatt and Gabrielle is the name of the wife of the drunk driver that killed his wife. Um, she ends up they end up falling in love essentially. So, um, overall, I really, really enjoyed this book. I'll go ahead and go through the CAWPILE rating, and we'll talk about each section as I do so. So for characters, I gave a 7, which is on the low end of really good. I did think the characters themselves were really well developed for the most part. Some of the things they did didn't necessarily make sense to me, but for the most part, I thought you got a good sense of who these characters were, especially the young boy, Travis, I think is his name. I think you got a really good sense of him and somewhat the adults as well. So I thought they were really well done, but obviously not the best done, which is why it's more in the middle of the road. For atmosphere, I also gave it a 7. Again, I thought the atmosphere was fairly well done. You got kind of good sense. It takes place on a Florida ranch. Um, and overall, like, I really love horses and everything like that, and so I enjoyed the atmosphere, but I thought it could be a little bit better developed. And so, because it really could have been a ranch anywhere. A couple times there's like some gators and such, which makes you think Florida, but I think it could have been a little bit better, which is again why I thought it was good enough to get a really good rating, but on the low end there as well. And then the writing style, I gave a 6. So that's the high end of mediocre. And I don't know, the writing style, the romance parts of the book seemed a little bit forced and didn't quite flow as well as the rest of the story. And I think that's really what dropped it down for me. And then there was also some things as far as events that happen, that just seemed a little bit forced as well. And again, just didn't quite flow. So that's what dropped the writing style down just a little bit for me. It was still pretty enjoyable. So I did, and it was fairly easy to follow. And then Plotline, again, I also gave a 6 for the same reasons. There's just certain things that happened in the book that really didn't make sense or seemed a little bit forced. I mean, they made sense overall, like, but it just seemed forced. It didn't flow smoothly, and so that's again why just a 6 on the plot line. Intrigue, I also gave a 6 for the same reasons, just with the plot and the romance aspect not flowing very well. The intrigue was just down a little bit because of those things. And then logic, I also gave a 6 for the exact same reasons. Like I said, just certain things felt a little forced and a little bit over the top. And then enjoyment, I gave a 7. Excuse the puppy. I thought overall it was really good. I really did enjoy it overall, but because of the other issues it did drop it down just a little bit for me. So that leaves an average rating of 6.42, which is a 3-star read. And definitely I think it's a solidly a 3-star read. It's enjoyable, it's easy to get through, but it's not like a book that just grabs you and you're just obsessed with, I guess. Um, but overall, like I said, I thought it was really well done, and there was moments where the writing really flowed and it felt really good. But like I said, the romance thing almost seemed forced. I don't think that was necessary. I think you could have still had a really good story about their journey of healing and forgiving, without forcing that romance on there. The next thing I'm going to talk about is a little bit of a spoiler, so if you want to jump off now, don't hesitate to do so. Um, but basically, Wyatt is also struggling. His dad has Alzheimer's, and so that's also a struggle throughout the book. And he does things which, again, it made sense. Like, I get what the author was trying to get at, but like for a lot of the time he would be fine, which I know sometimes that's how it is with Alzheimer's, is they'll have good days and they'll be completely fine and then they'll go. But it's just like you never saw really like that up and down. where he would have moments. It would just be like when he lost clarity, it was like from 0 to 60 as far as his behavior. And so you didn't see that decline, I guess, which is kind of what I was looking for. So, like, one moment he's out there trying to jump one of the stallions because he used to be a jumper. And so he's out there jumping the stallion. The stallion's just exhausted. And then at another point, he does the same thing. He takes the boy, I think Travis, out on a trail ride and decides to jump this mare. And at that point, he was supposedly in his right mind. And then something major happens. I'm not going to spoil that, but something major happens that really affects them all. And again, it's just they seemed a little bit forced because you really didn't see like where he would have moments of confusion at all. It'd be fine, and then there's big event because of his Alzheimer's, if that makes sense. And that again kind of what hung me up. Like I like that storyline part of the book, and I like that it was included, but it's just the things he did because of his Alzheimer's felt a little bit forced, and then they were so dramatic that it felt a little bit unnecessary as well. And so that was a little bit frustrating for me. And I did mark a page. I don't remember why, so I'm just gonna look here. Oh, okay, I do remember why. And so I'm gonna go ahead and read this little paragraph here. This is Ram, who is the dad of Wyatt, the one with Alzheimer's. And he says, mankind has often enforced a savage dominance over the horse, and for that he should apologize. These magnificent beasts toiled mightily over the centuries to help us tame the wilds, plow and harvest our fields, and transport our possessions, even die in our wars, and sometimes under the cruelest of masters. I am proud to say that I have never participated in their abject slavery. Even so, I humbly request forgiveness from every horse that has crossed my path, for they are truly God's noblest creatures. And I don't know, I really like that little quote, um, because I do agree with it, and we use horses for so many things in the past, and even now, they still have a place in the world. And I just really like that. But it's kind of ironic coming from Ram, especially with some of the things that he did, that he said, that he had never participated in their um, abject slavery. And then he does certain things which isn't honoring the horse. But yeah, overall, a good solid read. If you like horses, I think you would enjoy this. And it does have a lot, like a good character arc as far as healing and forgiving and such. Because not only did Wyatt have to forgive Gabby and her son for what, her husband and his father did, but Gabby's son also blames the Blaine family, and so he also has to find forgiveness and recognize that his father wasn't the hero that he looked up to, which is, obviously a hard pill to swallow. So overall, a good solid read, but there were some issues, which is what made it not as good. And I really wish the romance aspect hadn't been there at all. So I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys here. Don't forget to check out the video later today with the weekly read that we read this past week called The Servants, because I will talk about the next couple weekly reads in that video. But yeah, that's it for now. Happy reading, everyone. Bye.